r/AskReddit. Hiring managers of Reddit. What was something on someone's CV/resume that made you either immediately want to hire them or immediately reject them? I had a resume from a potential interview candidate that listed his reason for leaving his last job as, "I found a body." No further explanation. You bet your sweet patty I called him in for an interview. As a strategy to get an interview, it worked. The condensed story is that he found a body while walking the grounds at his job, checking to make sure all gated areas were secure and clear of debris. When he found the body, he called the police. He was fired because he broke internal reporting protocol. He was supposed to notify his immediate supervisor and not outside authorities. It was the supervisor's responsibility to call the police. Someone sent over their CV written entirely in the papyrus font from Microsoft Word. May as well have gone all out and used windings. I was hiring for a very competitive role last year, and one guy, who didn't have the best real world experience, added a single quarter code at the bottom of his CV. I scanned it, and it took me to an online portfolio, including a secure lab with simulations he'd ran, allowing me to test scripts he'd written, and also play around in his lab environment. Honestly, I'd never seen anything like it. The guy got the job, and has continued to be a great fit. I had someone hand me a resume with the HTML code of a porn URL mixed in midway through. I guess he was watching porn while updating his resume and somehow dragged in a link. Guess he didn't proofread it. It was his porn. Wanted to give you an honest audition of his performance. One resume read expert in indoor horticulture. Indoor horticulture was in quotes. Hired. I received a resume from an applicant that included a letter of recommendation from his cat. The letter was hilarious and signed with a clip-art paw print. I thought it was great and wanted to bring him in, but the manager for the position wasn't as crazy about it. I guess the point is, humor in an application can work for you, but it really depends on the person. Hiring for retail. 2 all-time favorites. Experienced at stalking the cooler. Responsible for closing paperwork after each shit. Doing the paperwork after each shit is kind of important. You certainly don't want to walk around covered in that stuff, least of all on your hands. A guy put his bench, squat and deadlift numbers in his personal skills section for a bar job. It spawned a long tradition of asking bartenders what they could bench when they applied for a job. So you're saying he set the bar for future applicants? My uncle works in marketing and told me about an applicant who sent them a video file as resume where he presented himself like one would present a product in a commercial. He immediately wanted to hire him for his creativity alone. That person nailed it. For a marketing job, that's a great way to stand out. But some of these people are doing that for like tech jobs or something where it makes no sense. I don't know how so many people can't read situations correctly. I had one application dropped off by the applicant's mother. She told me, if you hire him, you probably shouldn't trust him with money. Update edit. I threw the application away after she turned around. I was hiring for a sales clerk position at my family bakery. Guy submitted a resume claiming to be a ghostwriter for a local college. In lieu of a college degree, he listed the units he wrote assignments for and the average grades his clients got. I would like to work at your factory. I don't have a factory. Read the fucking job description. I don't think your job offering is good enough for me. If you don't even have a factory, please delete my information. Thank you. No factory? Jesus. Had a resume come in from a guy we fired about 2 years previously. Had a gap in his employment where the time was he had been with us. So, not even like he didn't realize. The confidence to apply for a job you've been fired from. Man, that's something. It was 14 pages. Eater, finance position with 5 to 10 years experience. There's only so many different ways you can describe finance responsibilities, and summarizing is a skill. Dude never pitched for the interview. Why you should hire me for the junior IT analyst role. Chapter 1. From humble beginnings. I got my first IT job because I put in additional skills modifying Fallout 3 using Jack. I just loaded custom packs and got them to work, and they gave me the job miraculously even though I was underqualified. Many of us who are in it are also gamers. I have incredible attention to detail. I said that once in the email body. proceeded to forget to attach the CV. I had a funny typo on a resume I once reviewed. It read, assassinated the lead florist on site. Obviously it was meant to say assisted. Obviously. RIP florist. But at least there's flowers for the funeral. Not a hiring manager, but for years I was applying for jobs with a high school qualification for art and design listed as fart, and design got 2 jobs in that time and countless rejections. My boss would hire you in an instant if he got that CV. I once saw underachievements on a CV from the world's youngest person. It made me laugh so much I gave them an interview. In the end they didn't sell themselves well enough to get the role, but it brightened my morning of filtering. I know a guy who put that he had a black belt in full contact origami. Well, it is said jiu-jitsu is the gentle art of folding clothes while people are still in them. Not a hiring manager, but I once wrote stuff like able to plug an USB on first try and can do up to 10 push-up before going into sleep mode in the additional skills section. They later told me I was invited because they wanted to see if I really can do the first one. Recruiter here. I have a few. Resume. Hire me lol. Video interview with another candidate. She was in a hospital bed and just gave birth to her son prior to her interview. Hired another video interview. The guy was chugging a tall boy Coors Lights. Not hiring, but one time a dude had excessive masturbation listed as a hobby. Not recommended unless you want to hire for a product tester in certain branches. Edit. Read it from another one's post. He had his CV proofread by one of his friends. Always proofread your friends' edits, folks. I wonder what he considers excessive. I saw this asked before and said in one I had a resume state for work experience be hacker. The internet they also stated they've been both hired and fired for hacking various things and have never been convicted of a computer crime. Once I received a resume that had raid leader for WoW in top guild of a server. This was about 9 years ago. The other hiring managers laughed their asses off and said this guy is a joke and they all dismissed him. Me, I asked the guy to come in for an interview and he did pretty well and I hired him. The reason I brought the guy in for interview was because I'm an avid WoW player at that time and I know the shit raid leaders go through. Trying to get a large number of people together, coordinate resources and rewards, getting guides together, and telling people to up their healing/DPS and not stand in fire. All done virtually via vent and forum postings, meaning you never met these guild members in person. You need some great leadership skills and project management. Also at that time I was dealing with a lot of people off-site, so I thought this guy would be a good fit. Hired for a junior UX role. An applicant's CV header was your bubbly UX designer, which was good enough to warrant an interview. In the interview, when we asked what was their dream job if they were in a completely different area, they answered Juventus manager. We knew she was a keeper. Had a kid applying to work at a Sam Goody as a stock boy. Write that he was a petroleum transference engineer for Exxon at his last job. His job was pumping gas. I hired him on the spot. I called myself an automotive refueling technician when I pumped gas at Sunoco. His was better. One time I interviewed a guy and went with another candidate. Maybe a week after the interview I received a card via USPS that said thank you with a note that said thank you for the opportunity to interview for the position. I was taken aback by it as in all my years I'd never received anything like that. It made him stick in my mind and I reached out to him the next time a position came open and he got the job. To this day he's the only person who's ever sent me a thank you card after being rejected for a position. Someone had spelled of incorrectly on their entire CV. I almost wanted to interview them just to see how they remembered to breathe. I had an applicant put his grandpa as a reference, so I called the guy and had a 20-minute conversation about how great his grandson was. I had to hire him after that. I asked a guy why he had periods of months and years where he didn't list jobs. He responded, I don't really like to work. Look, if you treat me well, I'll treat you well and work hard. I liked his no bullshit attitude and hired him. He was a great employee. We found the employer who didn't treat him well. I have AK-47, killed 7 thieves, security guard job. I mean, depending on location, it was considered. Close bracket. Was looking for a PHP programmer with strong networking background for a large company when I came across a resume stating in the second line expert in all internet protocols. Laughed really hard, tossed the resume over the cube wall to a friend who busted out just a few seconds later. Called the guy in for an interview and he was good. We then talked, and it was the contracting company that had cut down his resume from 4 pages to 2, dropping a long list of protocols and putting all in instead. 15 years later, we still tease him about all internet protocols. I was hiring for a graphic designer position where confidentiality was important. I was going through lots of extensive portfolios showing past work that candidates had done for other employers. I came across one candidate with a very small portfolio of example designs and a note that said something like, "I've done extensive design work for multiple clients, but can't share it due to confidentiality. I can create test designs to your specifications upon request." The fact that he was keeping his work for previous clients confidential was a huge plus. That ultimately put him over the top and got him the job. Had guy contact me on Reddit for a job posting I made for a systems admin on /r/sysadmin jobs. Looked at post history and found all sorts of interesting neo-Nazi posts. Rejected. My manager once told me that he started calling the numbers on references immediately after someone left the room and the interview had gone well. More than once the candidate's phone would ring as they passed reception. Silent mode FTW. Had a roughly 10-page 105 full of random indie movie and print ads that he had appeared in. Very detailed. May 25th, 2015. Sears circular ad page 12 wearing Levi 541 athletic fit jeans. Stone blue with white polo collared shirt. Collar popped. Hair spiked up. White Nike low top shoes. And the whole thing was in Comic Sans. For a barista position at Starbucks. Name changed, but I had a laugh over a CV that began "I'm the person not the legal entity John Smith." Rest of the CV was pretty good, but didn't seem worth taking the chance of some sovereign citizen type lunacy in the office. I was screening resumes for warehouse guys and it's obviously a position where it's not going to be a long resume. A guy had a footer with a forklift driver silhouette and a well-formatted resume. It seriously stood out because it put a smile on my face that he took the time to put together an excellent first impression. Applying to work at our family restaurant. First line of their resumes, willing to do any kind of work excluding the sex trade. Clearly they didn't get the job, not with a downer attitude like that.